15th regular meeting, July 25th, 2023, of the Medford City Council is called to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Present.
Council Carviallo. Present. Council Collins.
Present.
Council Knight. Council Scarpelli. Council Singh.
Present.
President Morrell.
Present, 6 present, 1 absent. Please rise to salute the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements, accolades, remembrances, reports, and records. 23-374 offered by Councillor Collins and Councillor Sang. Whereas our community values, embraces, and celebrates diversity in all its forms. Whereas Disability Pride Month is recognized each year in July to highlight the accomplishments, work, and advocacy of individuals with disabilities. Whereas our community is enriched by the contributions, perspectives, and presence of people with disabilities. Whereas Disability Pride Month provides an opportunity to recommit to empowering people with disabilities, ensuring equal access to all spaces and opportunities in our community, and centering on areas in the city where we must improve accessibility in order to be a truly inclusive and equitable city. Be it therefore resolved that the Medford City Council recognizes and celebrates July as Disability Pride Month. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, President Morrell. Appreciate Councillor Sang for bringing this resolution forward with me. And I also want to acknowledge school committee member McLaughlin, who helped us with the idea, and she actually liaised with Boston City Council member Mejia in Boston, who worked on a similar resolution. I loved the idea of making an official proclamation to recognize Disability Pride Month in Medford. It's celebrated across the nation, across the world. Disability has always existed. It will always exist. And like any other facet of diversity in our society, it should be acknowledged, it should be celebrated, and we should make sure that everybody across every spectrum of human being is adequately accommodated and embraced in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Sang.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Councillor Collins for introducing this with me, and also thank school committee member Melanie McLaughlin for giving us, for helping us with this, liaising, and with giving us the idea for it. It's so important to make sure that all members of our community are not only seen, but celebrated. And I think for too long, folks with disabilities who've lived in Medford haven't always felt like part of the community. And folks who have disabilities might have felt that felt that they couldn't completely be themselves in public, or they had to hide something, and or even that disability was something to be shameful about. And we know that's not true. And I think it's really important for all of us to take a forceful stand to let people be proud of who they are. And even and if that means changing how we work at City Hall, if that means taking a deep look at our policies, if that means making sure that things are ADA compliant in Medford, those are really important steps that we need to take. And Disability Pride Month gives us a chance for us to talk about those needed changes in our community and those needed investments. So I'm very happy to introduce this with Councillor Collins, and very much looking forward to what we can do in the future to address the needs of our of all of our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Sang. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councillor Collins and Councillor Sang, for putting this forward, and to Member McLaughlin as well. You know, I think in addition to everything that my colleagues have said, something that's really key to this is, what is it going to take to make sure that our streets, sidewalks, and open spaces are safe and well maintained? What is the funding gap there? How are we going to get there? We know that obviously we prioritize what everyone had just talked about around, you know, when we do a new construction project, when we do have all of these complete streets projects, we're prioritizing making sure that people with disabilities have access to our street, sidewalks, and open spaces. But when we have such a big backlog and we don't have the time, you know, we have such a long timeline to get there, we also have to think about how many people are impacted by that. How many people can't get to the grocery store or the pharmacy or the dry cleaner or a restaurant or a park to sit in safely because the sidewalk on their street or on the main street near them just isn't in the condition that it needs to be, or the ramp or the crosswalk isn't there. So, while we celebrate Disability Pride Month, taking that pride and taking those values and implementing them in action is part of what we're talking about when we're talking about our budget priorities and the need for significant additional funding to fix the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Bears. Any further discussion? On the motion of Counselor Collins, second by Counselor Singh, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears. Yes. Council Carviallo. Yes. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight. Knight's absent. Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, with 1 absent, motion passes. Records, the records of the meeting of June 20th, 2023 were passed to Counselor Knight. Counselor Knight is absent, so they will remain tabled. Yes. On the,
I have to do the decision for the special comment for raising capital and record for some others. I don't know the answer to that, but that's going to affect it.
There was Raising Cane's. There's Raising Cane's and the budget. I would move to approve. Technically, I think the legal shot clocks start when we vote on it, not when we vote on the record. So
Make sure there's no mistakes. That's why we approved the minutes the following week. But
right.
yeah, like I said, I don't remember what's on there, but if there are permits or people waiting for things, it could be, might be a little detrimental to them.
Vice President Bears, have you reviewed the records?
I took a look at them. It was glaring.
Do you want to make that?
Madam President, I looked at both.
You looked at them as well, Counselor Scarpelli?
I found them all. I found them in order.
Thank you.
I'd second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from Counselor Scarpelli to approve, second by Vice President Bears, and these are June, I was just gonna say, these are for the June 20th records.
He said both, right?
You said both, okay. For
Right,
June
right.
20th,
Yeah,
Yes.
I have been, so.
thank you. June 20th and July 11th, regular meeting records. So motion from Counselor Scarpelli to approve, second by Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, call the roll when you are ready, please.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight is absent. Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 1 absent, motion passes. Petitions, presentations, and similar papers. 23-375, petition for common victualers license by Zhao Hui Chen for Matsuba Izakaya Sushi Bar and Grill, 38 Riverside Avenue, Medford, Mass. Thing is on file, and I will hand it over to Counselor Scarpelli. Is the petitioner, you can come up to the mic, and then Counselor Scarpelli is the chair of the licensing commission. Subcommittee, if you have any comments, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I apologize, due to the rain, my schedule was diverted to work, so I'm in and out. So I apologize for my absence in person. But yeah, if I know this is exciting because I know sushi is one of my family's favorite foods, but we wanted to make sure if the petitioner could give us a little brief description of their business, and then we can move on with my comments.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Chen. So I'm the owner for Matsuba Izakaya. We're gonna serve sushi, ramen, and Japanese grills. So, and we also got our BNY license as well. And me and my husband, we both in the field for more than 10 years now. So I think we be success on this one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. If just a couple of questions, we do see everything is in order. The petitioner did everything they needed. Everything is signed off. Are you familiar with our hours of operations?
Yes, Myself, I have a Chinese restaurant, so I was the one that running the rest of the business. So it's all on track right now. So I pass it over to the manager over there. So and my husband, he's also a main chef for the other Japanese restaurant for more than 10 years now. And so I believe we can run this business.
Okay, so what the hours of operations that you're looking for? I know that.
The business hours are 2 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Okay. I do see everything in order, and if my colleagues have any questions, I would move approval.
Thank you, Councilor Carviallo. And you would just have to come back for the 12 a.m. You would just have to come back for a special permit for the 11 to 12 portion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right here, right now, it's only requesting
Clock.
10 PM Sunday through Thursday and 10:30 PM Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Right.
That's what, so.
So this would be just approving for those hours, and then you could apply with the clerk's office for a special permit.
Is there any applications that I need to submit or?
Yeah, you can meet with the clerk. I think that might help.
Yeah,
Office, yeah,
Okay.
for those extended hours, but this would approve it if we vote for it for the hours that are listed on the
Okay.
application.
All right.
Thank you. So we have a motion from Councilor Carviallo to approve. Any other questions from councilors? Seeing none, that motion is seconded by
second.
Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight is absent. Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 1 absent, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
23376, petition for common victualer's license for Safani Long for Four Seasons Boba Tea, 34 Riverside Avenue, Medford, Mass. 02155. Thank you so much. And we'll just turn over to Councilor Scarpelli real quick, and then we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you again, Madam President, through the chair. I do have all the paperwork. Everything is in order, but if the petition give us a brief description. I know that it's boba tea is very, very popular. So, but just a description of your process would be important. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sophanis. I'm the new owner of the Four Seasons Boba Tea, and I can introduce my store. So boba tea is kind of pearl tea or boba tea that they make from the milk and the tea and the tapioca also. So the ball and the tapioca and the bottom, so the other cup of the tea that make a lot of people interested in that drinks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and I see everything in order, Madam President. I would move approval if my colleagues have any questions.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. Any questions from the council?
Second the motion.
See none. We have a motion for approval from Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Vice President Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight is absent. Council Scarpelli.
Yes.
Council Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 1 absent, motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Luck.
23-377, petition for common victualer's license by Sophia K for Howin Palace 2, formerly Tiki Island, 269 Middlesex Ave, Medford, Mass. 02155. Are you the petitioner for that one? Or do we have a petitioner for the, online? Okay. Sorry, wasn't looking. Okay, so we have, Mr. Russell Chin. I will unmute you. We'll go to Councilor Scarpelli, and then I will also ask you to unmute. So we'll go to Councilor Scarpelli first.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I'm glad to see with such changes. I know we heard some sad news yesterday about a few establishments closing on Middlesex Ave. So the very popular site of Tiki Island, I'm glad that there's someone taking this over and a reputable owner. I think this is all of the paperwork seems in order. I think that just understanding the hours of operations, that was an established business for a long time, and understanding the amount of employees. I think that if we could just get a brief description of what we're doing and then just answer those questions and then open it up to my colleagues, that'd be great.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Councilor Scarpelli. My name is Attorney Russell Chin. I'm representing the applicant, Sophia Key. She is not in the country at the moment, so I'm standing in for her, and I apologize for her absence. Sophia is a principal of Chen Hong LLC. They do business as Ho Win Palace 2, and they currently have an existing restaurant in Everett that she operates. So this will be her second restaurant. She's operated over there in Everett for quite a number of years successfully. And she intends to bring that same type of management skill and experience over to the new restaurant at Tiki Island.
I have done some a little research, and she is a reputable owner, so we appreciate the opportunity to keep that business going, the Tiki Island spot going with such an owner. So I think that the hours of operations, I'm trying to find it on the sheets that I have. I know that
we had applied, I believe, for 11 to 1 a.m. Monday through Saturday, Sunday 12 to 1, but we understand that the city does have an ordinance in place regarding closure at 11 o'clock without a special permit. We're certainly happy to honor that as council sees fit.
But that's what I just wanted to make sure we had that, because I know a lot of the permits leave with the existing owner and their application. So I do see everything else in order, Madam President. I would move approval after any comments that my colleagues might have.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Attorney Chin. You may not have the answer to this question, but I have had it asked of me a couple of times this week. Do you know if there will be an interior renovation or if it will stay the same look inside?
My understanding is that it will remain primarily the same inside. However, there may be some updating going on after the acquisition is completed to enhance the interior and make it a better place for the patrons to feel welcome.
I know Council Bears was saying, I think the Buddha is very, very important that they keep it. It's
we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you so much. It's certainly not a condition of anything, but
It is not.
something the residents were interested in.
Thank you, Madam President. And like Council Scott Pelley mentioned earlier, we had a closure on Middlesex Ave. Thankfully, this group has stepped in to avoid another closure in that area. I know our good friend Raymond is involved, and I welcome him back to Medford. He's a former owner of Mayling, so I motion for approval.
Thank you. On the motion of Councilor Carviallo, seconded by Councilor Sang, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Councilor Carviallo. Yes. Councilor Collins.
Yes.
Councilor Knight is absent. Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
Councilor Singh.
Yes.
President Morrell.
Yes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 1 absent. The motion passes.
Madam President,
Councilor Scarpelli.
I don't want to waste anyone's time. I'm gonna be popping in and out. So instead of going and asking for individual votes move forward, I'll text Councilor Carviallo when I pop back in, so I don't waste anyone's time, because I have to pop back into a program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, councilors, and thank you, Madam President.
Thank you so much. Okay, going to motions, orders, and resolutions, 23-378, or offered by Vice President Bears. Be it so resolved by the Medford City Council that we ask the Traffic Commission to consider restricting trucks on Spring Street between Salem Street and Riverside Ave, either by instituting a no trucks policy or restricting trucks over a certain weight or tonnage. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. We did have discussion about this at our previous meeting in public participation, and I that night put this on the agenda for this meeting so we could discuss it now. I think the resolution essentially speaks for itself, but given that we do have members of the Traffic Commission here, I would like to ask if this constitutes an official submission for your agenda or not, or if you consider that it does, or how we would go about doing that.
Yeah, you would need to submit it through the police department, Alva, the chief's office.
Okay, so if we sent this resolution to Alva, or if the clerk did, would that be sufficient?
I believe so, but I cannot speak for her. but I
Okay.
believe that would be the case.
No one can.
Right. Well, Chief Buckley is the chair of the commission. So, yeah. So, the administration of the traffic commission is housed in his office.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So we'll do that, but I think you got the message.
Yes.
Yeah, you just need to amend with that language.
Okay, sure.
Counselor Carviallo.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Council Bears, for putting this on there. I think we've all heard from many residents of that Spring Street area. It is quite a busy street. Again, it's turned into another cut through to get to wherever they're gonna get to. And especially, you've got Budweiser over there, which is always going down that way. You get them. I know there's a lot of even the smaller trucks, but I think we have to step up some kind of police enforcement there, even if it's on a smaller basis, to send the message out. I mean, that you can't do this. I mean, we can put up all the signs we want, but unless there's some kind of enforcement, the signs really do nothing. So I would ask that when we send this to the traffic commission, that we ask that if there be at least some sporadic enforcement of it. So the residents will feel that they are getting something out of this rather than just a sign.
On that point, I would move to amend the paper to include that if such a policy is approved by the traffic commission, that there be enforcement of it by the traffic division, and also move that the clerk forward this resolution to Alva at the police department for submission to the traffic commission agenda.
Thank you. Counselor Singh.
Thanks. I don't need to repeat what we heard last meeting. I mean, it's certainly very concerning for the folks who are who live in that neighborhood. I thank Councilor Bears for introducing this resolution. And I think it's important to put on record the need, at least that I see, that to redistribute truck traffic in the city, to find better paths, and this especially to basically find ways to encourage trucks to take bigger main roads rather than cutting through residential neighborhoods. So be it through maybe a more general conversation on the traffic commission, or a task force to develop a policy suggestions. I think it's a conversation to be had.
Thank you, Counselor Singh. Any further discussion? Do you have the language as amended from Vice Bears? Could you read it back for me?
So 2 amendments from Vice President Bears. One is that the clerk forward the resolution to the traffic commission. And the other one is to request, after discussion with Councilor Carviallo, it's if the policy is approved, to request some enforcement of the new policy.
Thank you. So on the motion of Vice President Bears, as seconded by Councilor Carviallo, all those in favor?
All right.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Madam President, motion to suspend to take 23-382.
On the motion of Vice President Bears to suspend the rules to take 23-382, which is the waste contract, seconded by Councilor Collins. All those in favor?
All right.
All those opposed, motion passes. Going to 23-382, via electronic delivery to Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council regarding contract ordinance. Dear President Morrell and members of the City Council, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body, pursuant to provisions of MGL Chapter 30B, Section 12, approve and authorize the City of Medford to enter into a 10-year agreement for citywide collection, disposal, and processing of solid waste, reusables, organics, and recyclables, or pursuant to request for proposal number 23-0067. The following department heads will be available to answer questions: DPW Commissioner Tim McGivern and Planning Development and Sustainability Director Alicia Hunt. Respectfully submitted, Brianna Longo-Kern, Mayor. So we did have at our committee of the whole a presentation on the process and what we're seeking in a new contract. So this is a vote for the council that would authorize the mayor to enter into a contract. This would not be a vote by the council for a contract. It would authorize the mayor to enter into that contract. Correct. Just making sure there's nodding. I had a few
You're
more
asking us,
questions.
it's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I'm happy to go back to councilors on the floor.
No, you do your questions first.
So I just had, are there any cities that currently do the every other week trash?
My
With
understanding is
composting.
not in Massachusetts. There are in other parts of the country.
Okay. Is, okay.
And I felt that I should be clear that the way this is worded, we're said 10-year agreements, and it says collection, disposal, and processing of solid waste, reusables, organics, and recyclables, that this is intended to cover, and we checked this with our legal staff, that it covers, if we do a separate contract for yard waste, that would be for this as well as the composting.
Okay, so to understand, so it would be the regular solid waste, composting, yard waste, talking potentially 3 contracts.
Potentially, yes.
Okay,
At least
and-
2, likely 3.
Okay, because at this point, the composters that we're looking at, they don't pair up with a.
It would be a separate contract with the composting company.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's the only questions I have at this time. I did just want to note myself, I know there's many people in the city that partake since doing compost, diapers aside, since doing compost. I mean, we barely have a bag of trash a week, and we know those bins can contain 2-3 bags of trash. So it's been a huge noticeable difference for us. And I think it would be exciting, particularly in these very hot days, to have the compost picked up weekly. So that's just a personal note there, but I will go back to Councilor Carviallo for more questions.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm just, my only thing is, before the contract is signed, if you could bring it back to the council so we know what the actual particulars are. I don't have a problem for the 10 years, but I kind of got sucked into a 10-year contract before without knowing what the particulars were. So if you could just let us know at the end before what we've actually voted for. Now, a motion for approval.
Thank you, Councilor Carviallo. Councilor Collins.
Thank you, President Morrell. And thank you both, Director McGibbon and Director Hunt, for being here. Again, I appreciate our longer discussion about this in our committee of the whole that we just wrapped up. Definitely, I agree with the comments that President Morrell and Councilor Carviallo just made as this gets towards finalization, and just for the benefit of residents who weren't watching the conversation that we had at 6 p.m. I think that this authorizing this contract, which stands to encompass so many of our goals for getting towards zero waste, cost savings for the city, just a better experience for residents and businesses. I think that this positions us to be in a very exciting place as a city and for the city. For me, I don't remember when recycling became the norm. I think that happened kind of before I was a fully lucid adult, but I think we're at the point in society now where if recycling isn't available, it feels weird and it feels wrong to most people to not have that option. And I think we're at a place societally where hopefully, within the next 10 or 20 years, we'll get to that place with composting. And that's so important for just the experience of being in our buildings and the overall waste stream, not to mention being a large emission source to not be composting these organics. So I think that this is really exciting for the city to be in the position to be a part of that pivot in Massachusetts of institutionalizing, just something that we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Collins. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Definitely encourage folks watching now, if they have questions, to take a look at our prior meetings on the issue, including the one that we just had at 6 o'clock tonight. I think there's really great answers to questions and presentation from our commissioner and director. I think at least how I've been thinking about it in my head is you kind of had a triple mandate to make sure that we had effective and timely waste removal for residents, to control costs and reduce waste. And I think there's actually a lot of conflict between those 3 priorities. And I think that it seems to me that with the way the solid waste task force worked and the RFP process worked, we're there. We're exactly where we want to be. We've talked about some of those details in the prior meeting, obviously with, we're controlling costs to the extent that it's going to be the same as it was the last 10 years, not that it's actually going to be, below 2.5%. So it's still rising faster than revenue. But this seems to me with the education and the phase-in timeline that we're going to have effective and timely waste removal, maybe even in many cases more effective in terms of rodent control and, just smell and all these other pieces of it, and still getting everything out the door, more for yard waste. Same size bins. We're not going to smaller bins like we've seen in other communities. Cost control. I mean, costs are still going to be going up. They're going to be going up faster than 2.5%, but it's not going to be, 20%, which is good. And I really do, the thing that really encourages me the most is that this seems to be really pushing us in a zero waste direction. I really appreciated the chart you brought up that showed actually how little of what the city's waste produces is just stuff that can't be in some way recycled or composted or otherwise tried to reuse. And I think we all know how important that is, considering we talk a lot about climate change and we focus a lot about temperature and we talk a lot about weather. We don't talk a lot about microplastics and pollution in the rivers and all these other pieces of it as well. And I think this really moves us in a good direction there. So I'm thankful for your work. I'm also thankful that we waited to see the product of the work before approving the 10-year piece of this. But I would second the motion to approve if it hasn't been seconded already. And thank you for everything you've done on this.
Thank you, Vice President Bears. Any further discussion from the council? I do see Councilor Scarpelli is back. Just flag me down if you have anything. And I see Mr. Castagnetti. I will get to you as well. I also just want to thank you both for all your work on this, as well as the Solid Waste Task Force. Jumping on what Vice President Bears said, I think I work at MIT in my day job, and they just released a series of impact goals to help them reach their climate goals. And one is around waste, and it really focuses on food waste, because I think that's what a lot of people are coming up with, that when we do pound for pound, a lot of it is food. And that's absolutely something we can put in a different stream that goes to biofuel, that goes to compost, that goes to something that's not rotting in a landfill with everything else and just off gassing in a way that's completely detrimental. So I think as we look towards our climate goals as a city, it can feel, I think to Vice President Bear's point, we can think about heat and flooding and all these things and see them. And those absolutely, those feel like, those are climate change. Those feel like climate change, but waste is such a big part of it. And it's something that we as individuals absolutely can do to make an impact when given the right tools to do so. So I really appreciate that forward thinking with this and looking into that and understanding that we will explore it as we get there. Hopefully we can continue down the path at year 3 and it works great and everyone loves it. But I appreciate all the information as far as what that looks like, if it is a challenge and things like that. So I really thank you for the time and just presenting to us on this multiple times and for all the work you put into this. So I do see Mr. Castagnetti, if you have a question, or also anyone else, I will unmute you. Name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Counselor.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, Council President. First off, someone had already chatted to your council that your volume is way too low, and it's still very low. It's hard to understand, except when Councilor Scarpelli spoke, that was loud and clear. If it's possible, can you turn it up a lot louder, and we can always adjust the volume on our end to lower it, please?
Yep, we have the folks in the booth can hear you, so they can work on that. And Vice President Bears is turning off the fans, so that will definitely help.
Thank you, Council. Listen, I have 2 quick points about the rodents and rats and things of that nature. Number one is, I'm amazed to see a lot of holes in the top of these barrels, the rubbish barrels. And it looks like squirrels are chewing right through the lids. It's hard to believe, but it looks like that's what's happening, you know? Have you noticed that?
Yes, and I think it's probably usually rats. Rats will chew through anything, so it's usually rats.
Okay. I have a simple possible solution to make some sort of a spray bottle and fill it with maybe hot pepper liquid or something and spray the top of the lid so they would have some hot pepper and they may stop that business, you know? And because I don't think they like licking the hot pepper as they're chewing, you know? Anyways, that's one, if you heard it.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, number 2, as far as the rubbish barrels, the raccoons are pretty cunning and they have hands and fingers. They open those barrels. I've seen them open the barrels. They jump right in. I don't know how the hell they get out, or maybe they get dumped into the rubbish truck. So what I do is I put a small bungee cord. There's a hole on top of the lid in the front, and I can actually bungee cord it with a 4-inch bungee, or you could tie it yourself. But just make sure when it's time to go out to the trash, you untie it, you know? That was number 2. And I have an addendum. Did I hear Councilor Beers say something like playoffs? Did he mention that at 7 o'clock earlier?
Something like what?
Playoffs. Oh, I'm sorry. I think the word was override, real estate tax override.
Yes, you heard that.
Okay, it wasn't the playoffs. It was an override. Okay, which has to be voted on by the public on election day.
It also has to be introduced. It was just a discussion point. It also has to be introduced to the council, has to be voted by the council, and then voted by the public. So it was
I'm decreeing an override.
And hopefully, if decree is the right word, debt exclusions also while you're at it.
yes, those are.
Anyways.
Yes, thank you.
Please not here, because we're not Winchester. We've never had an override or debt exclusion in our lifetime. Never. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Vice President Bears.
You are correct. We have never had one, and that is the problem. I just wanted to say, if you didn't miss it, we did have a great conversation about raccoons and rats in the 6 o'clock meeting. And one of the things about the compost bins that Commissioner McGivern was artfully holding up for everyone to see on camera, and I think it'll be on the recording, is that these have a lock so that the raccoons can't get in them. And also the plastic is thicker and we do not have the rats chewing through them, to Director Hunt's knowledge. So that would be another way to limit access to food waste for pests.
Any further discussion from the council, or does anyone on Zoom want to see that bin if they missed it last time? Do you want? I'm sorry.
Oh, did you take it away already? It's upstairs.
It's okay. No one's.
We don't need to get.
Yeah, people can. It's on the tape. Thank you so much for your eagerness. I really appreciate it. Director Hunt always has the best interns, so appreciate it. Any further discussion from the council?
Madam President, roll call vote.
Yes, I believe we need a roll call vote either way. So we have a motion from Councilor Carviallo, seconded by Vice President Bears. And again, this is to authorize the mayor to enter the city into a 10-year contract. This is not a vote from the council on the contract. This is giving the mayor the power to enter into a contract. So on the motion of Councilor Carviallo, seconded by Vice President Bears to approve, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Bears.
Yes.
Council Carviallo.
Yes.
Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight is absent. Council Scarpelli.
He's not on.
Oh, he's not on.
Council Sang. President Rao.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 2 absent. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion to revert to the regular order of business.
On the motion of Vice President Bears to revert to regular order of business, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Carviallo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Going to 23-379, offered by Councilor Carviallo. Be it so resolved, the Medford City Council address the recent work done at Winthrop Street / Plaisted. Please request the attendance of traffic engineer Todd Blake and city engineer Owen Martella. Councilor Carviallo, as you saw, neither Director Blake nor city engineer Martella are able to make it. They did send us a few correspondences regarding this, as well as we have the complete streets master plan as well. So Councilor Carviallo.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. You know, a little disappointed what happened there. After 6 or 7 years of Eversource tearing up our streets, Winter Street is a gateway street into the city of Medford. And what we got is a bunch of plastic barrels and plastic dividers there. If we wanted an island or, a bump out, we should have put it in. All we have there is a line with some sand in there. The sand's pretty much all washed away, and it looks cheap. And that there's no other way to put it. It's a cheap look with a bunch of plastic barriers telling you where to turn, and there's lines going all over the place. I'm hearing people about the confusion on the lines. So again, I wish that, one of either the director would have came or someone would have came to give us some answers why they were like that. But my biggest disappointment is the lack of of the island there with just a line with some sand and those cheap looking barrels. And that goes to part of our city's cheap curb appeal. Say gateway, this is the gateway into Medford. You come out of Winchester, you don't see all the plastic cones, but we're turning into a city of plastic cones everywhere we go. And I don't like the look, and the residents don't like the look of what we're seeing happen. I'm all in for the safety and all that other stuff, but the look is not good. It makes it's bringing down the curb appeal of our city all over the city and not just there, but especially that's a nice intersection. You have the cemetery, and to see those orange plastic there makes me sick, and it makes other people sick.
Thank you, Councilor Carviallo. Councilor Collins.
Thank you, President Morrell. I appreciate Councilor Carviallo for bringing this forward. I took some time to read over the responses from Director Blake and Engineer Wartella that they sent over in lieu of their presence here tonight. One of the points that they mentioned, sort of in explaining how the current interventions at this intersection came to be, I thought was very interesting. I think they use shorthand pilot to permanence for saying why we have these plastic barriers up now, which of course are not a permanent road intervention. And I think it illustrates to me, why so many of our conversations about every operational and infrastructural issue in the city eventually comes back to money. I think that this is an issue that it is currently on the queue of projects where it sounds like the city would like to see a more permanent infrastructural solution, not plastic barriers, not something movable, just something permanent.
Point of information, Madam President?
Councilor Carviallo.
This is something that Eversource could have taken care of. This should have been mitigated. They say the mayor should have had them put the island there. This wasn't that big of a deal. Now we're going to go back, and now we're going to dig up the brand new paved street that was properly paved anyways. So Eversource could have put in a curbing there, and it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So we can make up all the excuses
Yeah,
about money.
it's my understanding that it wasn't within the scope of mitigation
Again,
that was
it could have been the
negotiated
scope,
for.
But it wasn't in the
most
scope
of us.
that Mayor Burke negotiated.
Right, for all the disruption they caused the community, that should be there now. It should have been when we
I
saw
agree
it.
with you that absolutely should have been
Right,
negotiated
I'm
for, but it
disappointed in
wasn't.
them.
But it wasn't. Councilor Collins, you have the floor.
Thank you. No problem. And, no disagreement with anything there. I think that the point that, for me, the bottom line is, regardless of what we wish had been negotiated for at any point in the past, my bottom line is now we have to do what keeps that intersection and that road as safe as possible, given the resources that we do have. And right now that means the plastic barriers. I think Engineer Wartella, I think I have the number right, said that there's been 300 incidents near that intersection in the past 5 years. Unacceptable. Anything that can make that intersection safer is what we should do. I wish, this is why we talk about it all the time. I wish that we had vastly multiplied resources so that we could make every intersection and road and site of passage in the city of Medford as safe as possible to drastically reduce the incidence of any type of accident, because that's just the most basic service that the city should be providing the people who get around here. And we're not there yet. So I feel your frustration. And I think that this issue, it does bring up a lot of issues that we're grappling with in the city and our lack of resources to do things at the way that we'd ideally like to see them done.
Thank you. Councilor Sang, and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you. I totally sympathize with what you're saying, and agree. I think it seems like we all agree that this should have been negotiated. Part of that, we should have tried to get something out of it. Of course, it's easy to go on counterfactuals and to think about the what ifs, but I think given the situation right now with the resources that we have right now, it's a temporary solution that I think we understand why it looks like this. I think we need to set a goal in the future of making that a place that looks nicer. And even honestly, I think it'd be ideal to put a few benches there to have that be a more community-based space now, instead of being an empty space that doesn't have anything. But this is part of why the traffic was redesigned. We hold plenty of city events there. normally never park around there. I usually am taking the bus and walking around the area, and that intersection is lethal. I mean, it's scary, and it's scary to see cars drive down so quickly. And so I'm grateful that we've made some changes and interventions to make that place safer, especially given the fact that in the last 5 years there were 300 car accidents in that area. I think with the new interventions, I know they're very controversial. I know that there are tons of residents who aren't very happy with what's been put in place. But I will say that safety is always, at the end of the day, the most important function of government. And this does keep pedestrians safe.
Thank you. Vice President Bears.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're talking about redesigning roads that were designed before the modern science of road design that we have today. And we know that tighter turns closer to 90 degrees and narrower lanes inherently slow and calm traffic. And I understand, hey, I drive everywhere. I'm not Justin. I'm not taking the bus. I'm not walking everywhere. I drive everywhere and I park everywhere. I'm going to drive a little slower, you know, I don't like to walk very far. You know, people can make whatever jokes they want to make about the whole thing. I'm tied to my car. So don't take me as the one who's, you know, not car dependent or wants to be car free. I like my car. I enjoy driving it, and I will likely be driving a car for a very long time. And I know there are people who are going to be mad at me for saying that, but it's how I live my life. That being said, if I have to drive a little bit slower because it's safer, you know, for everyone else on the street and for me in my vehicle, you know, I think people know that the issue of car safety is important to me. I had a close friend who was killed because she was walking her bike on a street that didn't have proper infrastructure, didn't have curbing, didn't have lights, and wasn't painted correctly. And, you know, if that infrastructure had been there, I'd have my best friend. That's how I think about this issue. That's how I think about these issues. I get it. Sometimes it's frustrating to be driving a little slower. Sometimes I'm frustrated sitting in a no turn on red sign that I used to take a turn on red. But at the end of the day, I, as a driver, am not going to live the rest of my life knowing that I had been in a situation. If I'm going 25 and someone lives versus I'm going 35 and someone dies because I didn't see them or whatever reason, I don't have to live with that. The family of the person doesn't have to live with not having somebody, and we all don't have to live with the fear of that happening to us on either end of it. And that's how I think about these issues. I'd like it to be permanent curbing. I'd like it to look a lot nicer. I agree with that. I think everyone knows my position on what public utilities should be paying these companies that are taking billions of dollars of profits from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and sending it to the Netherlands every year instead of investing it in curb cuts and beautification of our communities. That wasn't in the scope. I actually may have misspoke. I actually don't know if that mitigation agreement was under Mayor Burke or Mayor McGlynn. So I just want to put that out there. I may have not had my facts straight on that one. Clearly doing this the way that we would like to do it wasn't in there. And I think if you look at, I think it was Director Blake's communication about the complete streets. This was like number 19 on the list. And I think we've only gotten through 4 of the dozens of intersections that need these kind of treatments. We have paint, we have the temporary barriers. We're going to be able to use them as a pilot program to test what the geometry of this intersection should look like. And then, not to be the broken record again, we need to find the funding to do these kinds of projects. We need to have funding, not just for the repairing and bringing streets and sidewalks in their existing condition to a state of good repair, but also funding complete streets projects and safer intersections and intersections that are accessible to people with disabilities and that are multimodal. And that sadly will mean that I get to drive 5 miles an hour less than I usually do and take 2 minutes longer to get to where I want to go. But at the end of the day, I don't think the issue, at least for me, it seems the issue for most people is not with the substance with the concept, it's with the execution. And as much of that as we want to push on Eversource or ask about that being about the engineer or the traffic and transportation director, I do really think the other piece of that equation is the money. And we know that Haynes Square and Tough Square cost in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, nearing millions of dollars to do similar things. So if we want to do these kind of more permanent treatments, we're going to have to pay for them.
Thank you, Vice President Bears. Did you want to go again, Councilor?
Yeah,
Carviallo?
Thank you, Madam President. Again, I'm not questioning the safety aspects of it all. I'm just questioning, Eversource was here 3 years longer than they were supposed to be here. And the equipment was there, everything was in place, that the island just could have, while that stuff was there, it wasn't that big of a deal. The mayor should have negotiated something with them for the extra 3 years of turmoil that they caused in this community. And that wasn't not a big cost to do that. So that's where the rub comes up. Nothing about safety, it's the look. 3 years of overdue project that should have been done. Okay? Doesn't look like that in Winchester when you drive down the street. You don't see all the plastic cones there and the same crap because they got a different company there. So this is what the difference is between the two communities.
Thank you, Councilor Carviallo. And I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I agree with you that I wish it were a more infrastructure or more permanent solution. And what I'm going to say next has nothing to do with your point, because I absolutely hear your point and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just want to say, because I'm not an expert on every intersection in this city. I am an expert on this intersection because I live about 300 yards from it, and I walk it, I bike it, I drive it. The only thing, I don't know how to rollerblade. That's about the only thing I do not do through this intersection. And I want to say that I am ecstatic. Paint could look a little bit better. That was, there are spots in Winchester too where the paint actually is smudged and doesn't look great either. These things happen. But every single, with the exception of the extremely long crosswalk about from the Whitmore Brook entrance towards the cemetery, every crosswalk in that intersection was a blind crosswalk. You cross and you hoped someone saw you, whether they were coming off of Playstead, they couldn't see you cross Winthrop. Whether you're crossing Playstead and they're coming off Winthrop, they couldn't see you. Imagine having a stroller and pushing it in front of you, and you hope to God someone sees you before they hit the stroller you're pushing or you. I saw a woman a few weeks ago, and the MBT bus driver was actually extremely helpful in this situation. He was wonderful. And she was on the far side, she was on the fell side, and she had like a walker, a roller, walker with wheels, and she was with her grandson. She couldn't figure out which bus stop she needed to be at. And she crossed over Winthrop Street, and then she crossed over Playstead twice because it's so wide right there. And she got to the MBTA bus driver, who told her, actually, you were in the right spot in the first place. And I had entered the situation at that point, and I had my elderly dog, would not walk any farther, so I couldn't help her. So I sat there and I watched as she crossed the 3 streets again, and I held my breath. I absolutely held my breath because I know how scary that intersection is. And I just want to know at what point we decided that that was acceptable, that for people to move as fast as they can in their cars is the more acceptable route than doing what we can to allow pedestrians to travel safely across streets. So that's something that really frustrates me. I've seen the discussion on Facebook that we are designing for a problem that doesn't exist. Those people don't spend time in that. I have seen countless people trying to cross that street. Rarely someone will stop and let you cross the street. Someone comes flying from Winchester and tries to go around them and tries to, not intentionally, but almost nail someone in the crosswalk. It's an incredibly dangerous intersection. And since the interventions have been put in, I've seen so many people in the area biking and walking. And it's not because they weren't there. They have always been there. But they said, I'm not going to cross that. I'm not going to walk that area. That area is terrifying. And now they're out and they're using it. And I think it's wonderful to see. I'm really happy. The barriers are a little ugly. Yes, I will take ugly 1,000,000 times over for safety improvements. And I just want to point out the fact that those very same barriers were begged for in front of some of the tonier streets in the city to prevent people from parking and accessing the lakes. So those barriers exist in other places in the city that people seem to have no issue with because it prevents people from having access. But when we add them to increase access, people get mad. So I'll step off my soapbox. But again, I probably walk through this intersection or bike through it or drive through it a half a dozen times each day. And I want to be clear that I absolutely support what has been done there. And I've heard from many people that support it. And I haven't heard from many people that probably don't even think to reach out because they're biking and they're walking and they're enjoying it. And they're not thinking of emailing people about it. So I know we have a member of the public who would like to speak. So.
My name is Richard Orlando. I live on Winford Way, that same neighborhood. I won't get on my soapbox, but I've been there since '77. I have not seen, I would not describe scary, lethal, that intersection as that. Knowing that the discussion would be made about safety tonight. I've talked to, and I know we heard the report from the city engineer, from the state DOT, but I've talked to people in Medford, police officers who conduct traffic oversight of that area. And as recent as just where I came before I came to this meeting, a police officer over 20 years has never seen a fatality there. There are problems. They've told me perhaps more about at Winthrop Circle. I hear frequently because of the line arrangement, which frankly, the design from traffic engineer point of view is lacking. When I hear people talk about the entrance to Medford High, I frequently hear there's going to be head-on collisions there because of the way the lines are laid out. In terms of what we could have gotten out of Eversource, I hear that all the time. Well, it's past that point and so on. When is Medford going to learn how to address contractors in the city? When is the execution going to be managed correctly so we don't get the value we need? That Winthrop Street, the lines that are on there from a design point of view are terrible. You weave back and forth over the street, even for cyclists, it's going to be dangerous. So the design could have been better, the execution, there are lines over lines over lines. The job, the city, the citizens of the city could have been much better represented, including all people that use that area, not just automobiles, pedestrians, cyclists, et cetera. I think if that's the results we get out of our design work and our execution from an engineering point of view, there needs to be a serious discussion with those people. We should expect and demand much better. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Castagnetti, I see your hand up. Or it might be still up, but I'm assuming it's up again. I will unmute you.
Yeah, unmute myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be able.
Am I getting through?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. By the way, I did go to school also with Richard Orlando, and he was one of the top 3 smartest kids in our class back at the Hancock School in the 50s. Anyways, and I didn't realize he had such great common sense. I would listen to that guy because it's getting quite dangerous out there. And that's not why I'm on. I wanted to address Councilor Beers talked about building Tufts Park and the money it costs. It is my understanding that part of Park Medford's agreement with the city was they were going to take, I'm not sure the amount, $100,000 every year to build out and build up and improve all the squares. So far, I've only seen Tufts Square being done, and this was done without an override or debt exclusion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Further discussion. I actually just want to make one more brief point, not to make a rebuttal, but I had seen this on social media as well, that there was a discussion point that there's been no fatalities in that area. And I refuse to accept that is our bar. That if someone hasn't died in an intersection, then it must be working well. So, thank you. On the motion of Councilor Carviallo to receive and place on file, seconded by Councilor Collins. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 23-380, offered by Vice President Barris. Be it resolved by the Medford City Council, the rules of the Medford City Council be amended. Just 1 second. Be amended to include the following rule and update the table of contents to reflect the addition of the new rule. Section 7, rules regarding council adoption of provisions of Massachusetts General Law. Rule 39, Medford City Council rule regarding consultant fees. The following rule is adopted pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G. 1, when reviewing an application for or when conducting inspections in relation to a request for special permit.
Madam President,
Vice President Barry.
would you like me to suspend for, I can summarize?
Sure, we have a motion from Vice President Barris to suspend the reading. Waive the reading, sorry. Waive the reading.
Waive the reading, yeah.
Yes, waive the reading. He said suspend. I repeated it. Waive the reading In lieu of a brief summary, seconded by Counselor Singh. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Vice President Barris.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a version of, this updated, slightly updated version of something we had on the agenda earlier this year. We are a special permit granting authority. The City Council is, in addition to the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Community Development Board. That gives us the ability, if we adopt this rule under Massachusetts general law, to require a legal, basically outside consultants, engineers, scientists, financial analysts, planners, lawyers, urban designers, or other appropriate professionals to assist the council in analyzing a project where we're the site plan, where we're doing site plan review or special permit granting authority at the expense of the petitioner. So if there's a large developer wanting to look at a property and we're the special permit granting authority, this would allow us to bring on our own experts at the petitioner's expense to assist us in reviewing and considering that application.
Thank you, Vice President Barris. Any further discussion? Do you need a roll call? It's just, it's a rules change, so
I think,
I'll take a roll call.
yeah.
So on the motion of Vice President Barris to approve to amend the rules of the City Council, seconded by Councilor Carviallo. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Barris.
Yes.
Council Carviallo. Yes. Council Collins.
Yes.
Council Knight is absent. Council Scarpelli is also absent. Council Singh. President Morrell.
Yes, 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 2 absent. The motion passes. I believe this is actually, he'll be back, but DPW Commissioner is going to speak to us on this. 23-381, under Communications from the Mayor to Honorable President and members of the City Council regarding proposed ARPA projects in excess of $250,000. Dear President Morrell and members of the City Council, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body allow time for presentation by DPW Commissioner Tim McGivern of the following ARPA projects, i.e. proposed equipment purchases: DPW Freightliner jet truck, $358,000, and DPW loader, $275,000. Thank you for your kind attention to this matter. Sincerely, Brown and Longo, current mayor. And just a reminder, this isn't anything that's asking us to vote on appropriation. This is the mayor presenting a courtesy paper, and also, I guess, getting it out to the public, letting us know about ARPA spending plans. We do have DPW Commissioner McGivern with us to tell us a little bit more about it. Any questions as we wait for him to rejoin us? All right, I'll give you a minute to.
Hi, sorry, ARPA requests?
Yes.
Thank you. So these two vehicles, let me just grab it. So these two vehicles, the loader and the jet truck, so I believe I'm here because they are over $250,000. They are both very high-use vehicles, and they are both at the end of their life. The jet truck is a piece of equipment that we use to clean out sewer service lines, and you know, that piece of equipment is in need of replacement, so that's that one. And the loader is a critical piece of equipment for snow operations, so that's something that we're also trying to replace, and it's at its end of life, and we're spending too much time in the repair shop. So that should give you a little bit of background information on those two vehicles.
Thank you.
Motion received and placed on file.
On the motion, Councilor Carviallo, to receive and place on file. Vice President Barris.
Just one quick question, Tim. If you feel like you can't answer this, I'll take it to Owen. We have a grant of location for Riverside Ave from National Grid from 2020 that's been on the table for 3 years.
I'm aware of it because it started under me when I was city
Yeah.
engineer, yes.
Do you think we could take it off the table, wait for them to submit a new one, or?
It's going to be in their court. That was, I believe that was because the MWRA had a project,
Yeah.
and the MWRA asked National Grid to get in front of their project.
Right.
And then that project has been, I believe, I cannot speak for MWRA, but I believe they've changed the nature of that project completely. So it no longer requires National Grid to expedite that work.
Okay.
So it would be in National Grid's court on whether or not they're going to do that work.
Great.
Or the city, if we had a project for Riverside Ave in queue, then we would ask National Grid to expedite their project.
Okay.
So,
But if I motion for us to receive it and place it on file tonight, do you think anyone's going to be injured by that?
I cannot speak for the petitioner and I cannot speak for the city engineer. But I mean, I think that's my answer at
Okay,
this point. Yeah.
yes, I will
Okay.
take that as I've not heard any timely action on such the thing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
How far is that?
Off the top of my head, I know it's one of those. I'm trying to, the one that's closer to Fellsway,
So commercial.
commercial.
Yeah.
I believe it's from commercial to Fellsway. Right, so the National Grid project was further up, and also there's a difference too, because MWA's project was replacing a massive utility line, and basically National Grid's utilities were in the way of that work. So from what we understand, obviously work with National Grid on the regular in the engineering division, that isn't something that they need to replace on the immediacy. So it would be something that I think if they had their way, it would be many years away, so.
It's a different section of road.
The way it typically works with the coordination is we sit down a couple times a year with National Grid. We say, here's what we want to pave. If you guys want to do any work, you need to do the work. And then we give them a certain amount of time to do it. And if they don't do it, then we have to move forward with our project. So we coordinate the best we can. But I know you have noticed in the past, sometimes things fall through and they'll have to, a perfect example is when the square, because right now there was a couple leaks that opened up in the square and everybody's going, right? So we do the best we can to sit down with National Grid, say, hey, we're going to do this, 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 this. So you guys need to go do your work. And they do the same right back. They say, we want to do this, this, this. So you guys should replace your water lines and put it in paving queue. So it happens both ways. Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I can't speak for Owen, but when it comes up, more details he can give because he's doing the day-to-day coordination. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We still have to vote on 23-31. So just the motion to receive and place on file, seconded
Second.
by Vice President Bears. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. That's the public participation. Is there anyone who would like to speak for public participation, either in person or on Zoom? One. Seeing none.
Madam President,
Vice President Bears.
motion to take papers 20-600, 22-547, and 23-072 off the table and receive and place on file.
So 20600, you lost me right after the first one.
20-600,
Okay.
22-547,
Okay.
23-072.
Okay, on the motion of Vice President Bears to take those papers off the table and receive and place on file, and they are that National Grid grant of location, a spending moratorium, and the trash and solid waste collection contract. Second by Councilor Carviallo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. The papers are taken off the table and received and placed on file. Councilor Sack.
Just quickly before we adjourn tonight, since we're having a forecasted heat wave the next few days, I would just wanted to announce that we will have some cooling centers open for residents over the next few days until July 28th. So we have three cooling centers announced. There's the Medford Police Department Community Room, which will be at 100 Main Street. That's available 24 hours a day. The Medford Senior Center at 101 Riverside Ave will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the Medford Public Library at 111 High Street will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the 26th and 27th, which is Wednesday and Thursday. And then it's from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Friday on the 28th. If you want more information about it, there is this info is on the city website. But I hope everyone stays cool, stays safe. I think it speaks to the impact of climate change at the local level when we need to make announcements like this and make measures like this. And hopefully this really kicks us into gear with more aggressive climate action and with things like just planting more trees and preventing heat islands in the city.
Thank you, Councilor Singh. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you, Counselor Collins. Motion of Counselor Collins to adjourn, seconded by Vice President Bears. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.